There's one being in particular that I always recognize, and he's not a gray. He's taller, he's thinner, he's got a bigger head, he's got bigger eyes. His limbs are very praying mantis-like. I remember being on the table with my head turned away, not wanting to look at this creature. And then when I looked at him, I just recognized him as the one that I hated.
In a few cases, subjects claim to see hybrids, creatures who are half human, half alien. Some abductees believe they are being crossbred with aliens to create these hybrids.
A very important part of the abduction phenomenon is that there are reproductive procedures carried out upon them.
I've been shown children, I've been shown babies. I've been asked to hold children and babies. I've been asked to give these children affection. And these children aren't alien children, and they're not human children. They're somewhere in between.
I had a woman who had been to the doctor, had an ultrasound done. Her husband was there. Everyone observed at 3 months a healthy fetus. The next day she wakes up screaming. They took it. Is so upset, her husband takes her back to the doctor. He does a pregnancy test, finds out she's no longer pregnant. They do a D&C. There's nothing there.
The most humiliating thing that happened to me is they put a cylindrical sort of thing over my genitals, and it made me have an orgasm in a second. And I really feel like I'm one of those few men who knows what a woman feels like when she's raped.
I've been on a table, and I've seen something removed from my body that I will call a fetus, a baby. It was so small I couldn't believe that it could live on its own. I remember putting my finger in the arch of its foot. I was afraid to look at the face. I was afraid to see what it looked like.
There seems to be an enormous interest in the emotional side of this, too, on the part of the aliens. They want us to hold these odd little children, these babies. They want to see how a mother will hold and love a child, things which to us are instinctive.
The abduction phenomenon begins usually in infancy, or at least by the age of 2, 3, or 4. It continues all through childhood, all through maturity, and into old age as well.
I have many cases where the person is taken as a child, usually what we'd refer to as the bedroom visitation.
I was laying in bed, I opened my eyes, and here's a little gray standing there looking at me. And all I could really remember were those dark eyes.
It is as if that person has become a kind of tagged animal in someone else's experiment. And that little person, as he or she grows to adulthood, will be abducted over a period of time at irregular intervals.
Let us assume that this is all being made up, that this is internally generated, that there is no abduction phenomenon. If that's the case, then we have discovered something of enormous importance.
What are the repercussions of thousands of people running around thinking they're crazy, feeling crazy, being crazy, because they have no way to understand what's happening?
Psychiatrists and psychologists who are dealing with these people are the first to say, something happened to this person. This is not a fantasy. This is not something the person cooked up. This was an event in that person's life which was truly upsetting.
These experiences are not pleasant experiences. This is not something I'm happy happened to me. There's a part of me that would love to find the answer that it was something else.
It's a very lonely place to be, to have this experience and not be able to remember the details and not know if it's real. And it's very, very hard to walk through life with this kind of a secret.
My name is Kim Carlsberg. I'm a photographer by trade, an artist, author, and a UFO abductee. I'm a graduate of the Art Center College of Design in Pasadena, California, and I was the first woman accepted into the Hollywood Camera Union for my many years as the exclusive photographer for the television series Baywatch. I wrote my first book, Beyond My Wildest Dreams, Diary of a UFO Abductee, in 1995. It was an illustrated book, chronicling 8 years of diary entries regarding my continuous contacts with extraterrestrial beings. At the end of my first book, Beyond My Wildest Dreams, I put out an invitation to other people of contact to send me their stories and artwork for a compilation book on the Close Encounter experience, to be named The Art of Close Encounters. I created the Art of Close Encounters as a visual encyclopedia, if you will, on the many different beings, the variety of craft, and the different experiences people are having all over the world.
Your precious black gold.
The first chapter consists of forensic renderings of the most commonly seen ETs as described by contactees themselves. They range from the now well-known gray aliens and the hybrid entities they are creating from our borrowed DNA, to odd insect-type ETs known as the Mantis beings. These beings have been described as identical to the praying mantis insects on Earth. Only these entities are 7 to 9 feet tall. They seem to be in charge and have been reported to be either terrorizing or extremely loving.
Since the 1960s, there have been many more similar reports, including that of Kim Carlsberg, a commercial photographer, who in 1988 claimed to have been abducted by gray aliens in the middle of the night.
We were living on the beach in Pacific Palisades, and I walked up to the window and I saw this light on the horizon that I'd never seen before. You know, I'd lived on the beach my whole life, and it wasn't a boat and it wasn't a star. I just watched this craft. The next thing I knew, it jetted into the stars and disappeared, and I went to bed as usual. I woke up in the middle of the night and I was not in my bed any longer. I was naked and I was paralyzed. The beings I saw were about 3.5 feet tall. They were naked. They were off-white. They were not gray. They had huge heads, huge wrap-around black eyes, tiny little bodies.
There are many stories of greys abducting humans into their spaceships, and even of being inseminated with alien reproductive material and then conceiving human-alien hybrid babies and having those fetuses removed from their bodies and then grown on the alien spaceships. In some cases, people report going back onto the spaceship and being able to see these hybrid offspring.
I was being used for my DNA. They were creating hybrid children from my eggs, someone else's sperm, and combining it with their DNA and their sperm. I would be implanted with an alien fetus, and they would leave the fetus in my body for a few months. Then they would bring me back again later, and then they would remove it. It was horrific. It was terrifying.
You can't have so many people saying that they've been abducted and not have some possibility of truth with that. I think it's happening. I don't know if it's a hybridization program for these ETs or whether they're trying to bring these hybrids back to this planet one day when the environment changes. But in my opinion, something very strange is happening to these people who claim to be abducted.
I grew up in the Midwest, a typical Midwestern family, Christian upbringing. I went to a Baptist church. I was in the middle of 2 brothers. I have a brother who's 7 years older and a brother who's 7 years younger. And my mom used to call us for 7-year itch. And my mother was a hairstylist and my father was an entrepreneur. And I, went to school, normal school, public school, graduated from high school and came to California. I woke up and I was not in my bed any longer. I was standing in what I thought was an elevator. I was paralyzed. I had no idea how I could have been taken from my bed in the middle of the night and not known it and just appeared in this elevator, but that was the case. I was pushed into a room that I describe as a large hospital ward. There were tiny little tables about 1.5 feet tall all through this hospital ward, and there were unconscious human beings laying on all of these tables, and there were these little short off-white beings, naked guys with big black eyes doing things to these people on these tables. I was taken into a small room and I was presented a little girl about 2 years old, and she was beautiful. She was very human looking. She had big blue eyes and long blonde hair, but she lacked emotion. And They presented this child to me and they said to me, "Isn't she a beautiful baby?" And telepathically they were communicating to me that it was my child. And I was absolutely in shock. I'm in this room and I'm seeing this 2-year-old little girl and they're telling me it's mine, and I'm saying, "You're crazy, this isn't mine, it can't be mine, I don't know what you're talking about. Leave me alone. I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to participate in this." I know how crazy it sounds for a woman to say she's been implanted with an alien fetus. I'm an intelligent woman, I'm highly educated, I know how the world perceives it, but I'm sorry, it's the truth. I hate that idea that I'm a messenger, you know. I'm just a normal person who happens to know too much. I know too much. I've seen the future. I've seen the world from another perspective. And I can just talk about it if that makes me a messenger. Maybe I'm a messenger, I don't know. But that message is out there, you know? It's like how many times can we be told something? Apparently not enough.
Kim Carlsberg was a successful professional photographer when an encounter experience changed the direction of her life.
I came home, went to bed, I woke up, and I was not in my bed any longer. I was standing in what I thought was an elevator. I was paralyzed.
Like so many prior abductee accounts, Kim recalls medical experiments happening around her.
And there were these little short off-white beings, naked guys with big black eyes, doing things to these people on these tables. And I didn't know if I was going to live through the night. I really thought that these people might be dead, and I thought that I was going to be next. So I started screaming, and a taller alien that looked just like these guys walked up behind me and slapped me on the back of the neck, and I started to pass out. Next thing I knew, I woke up. I was in a smaller room by myself on a table, and you know, I'm completely disoriented. I don't know where I am. I don't know what's happened to me.
In a series of semi-lucid flashes, Kim recalls the alien testing.
I had an experience where they put a metal rod to my tailbone and they take skin samples. I had something shoved up my nose. I felt this drug feeling come over my body, and I knew that I was going to be unconscious within a matter of seconds, and there wasn't anything that I could do about it. And I woke up back in my bed, and at that point, you know, I thought that I had completely lost my mind. I knew I wasn't hallucinating, but it was the only logical explanation.
And that encounter was not an isolated episode. She has had numerous subsequent abductions. One memory is particularly harrowing.
I had a very vivid experience of having a fetus put into my body and removed. It's ridiculously hard for me to talk about.
Is Kim's experience corroborating evidence to others' accounts of baby harvesting? If so, why would an advanced race need human babies? One theory holds that alien evolution may have stalled, requiring human DNA for future development.
Some people hypothesize that their planet or where they come from is arid and barren, and they've lost their own reproductive capabilities, so they are trying to find a new genetic stock with us.
They do need our genes to propagate their own species. It's a recurring theme that we hear from a lot of abductees. They're studying us, they're studying our sexuality, our emotions, and they're using us for some design goal as the center of this experiment.
Kim's story has been met with fierce skepticism.
I know how crazy it sounds for a woman to say she's been implanted with an alien fetus. I'm an intelligent woman, I'm highly educated, I know how the world perceives it, but I'm sorry, it's the truth.
To Kim and all abductees, the need for more research into the abduction phenomenon is urgent. Such study could either prove the reality of their claims or provide alternate answers for these troubling encounters.